Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the system that huge organizations use to manage a constant flood of ideas and turn them into a steady, predictable stream of value for their customers. But before we dive headfirst into the how, let's start with the why. I love this quote from W. Edwards Deming because it gets right to the heart of it. It's not just about doing things or being busy. It's about deeply understanding why a piece of work is important. And that why is always about delivering value. So just try to picture it for a second. A massive company, right? Hundreds of teams. And they are getting hammered with new feature requests, customer feedback, big strategic goals, and all kinds of technical needs. How on earth do they manage that constant flow without everything just descending into total chaos? Well, they do it with a very specific system. It's highly structured, but it's also incredibly flexible. And it's all designed to create a predictable flow of work. To really get our heads around it, we're going to follow one single idea through its entire life, from that initial spark of inspiration all the way to the end user. Our journey begins at what you can pretty much think of as mission control for the whole operation, the backlog. Now, this is way more than just a simple to-do list. It's the central hub, the holding area, for every single piece of work that might get done. Now, what's really clever here is how the whole system scales. For a single product, you'll have what's called an ART, or an Agile Release Train, which is basically a team of teams. They manage their work in an ART backlog. But for a really massive solution that involves multiple ARTs all working together, well, you scale up to a Solution Train backlog. The idea is exactly the same, it's just operating on a much grander scale. You probably noticed the word enablers on that last slide. These are absolutely critical, and they're all about maintaining something called the architectural runway. The name is perfect. Think about it like a real airport runway. If it's short, if it's bumpy, if it's full of potholes, planes can't take off. Well, it's the same thing with software. If your technical foundation is weak, you can't launch new features quickly or safely. Enablers are the work that keeps that runway long, smooth, and ready for launch. So, where do all these things in the backlog actually come from? Well, they flow in from pretty much everywhere. You've got your big strategic company goals. We call those epics that get broken down. But you also have ideas that just bubble up from the teams on the ground. And this mix is so important because it perfectly balances that top-down strategy with bottom-up innovation. You know, having an idea in the backlog is just the very first step. It can't just sit there collecting dust. It needs to be carefully prepared for the journey ahead. And this whole preparation process is called refinement. And this isn't just some meeting you have once a quarter. Nope. Backlog refinement is a continuous, always-on activity. The goal is to always have a set of well-understood, well-defined items ready for teams to pull into development. This is absolutely crucial for those big, multi-day planning events, like PI planning, where all the teams figure out what they're going to build for the next few months. Refinement involves a lot of key activities, from fleshing out the details to figuring out the technical needs. But prioritization is probably the most important piece. A lot of teams use a method called Weighted Shortest Job First, or WSJF. It sounds complex, but it's really just a smart formula to help them figure out the economic trade-offs, ensuring they're always working on the most impactful stuff first. Okay, so our idea has been refined, it's been prioritized, and it's ready for the main event. It's time to enter the delivery pipeline. And this whole flow is almost always visualized on a Kanban board, which makes the entire process visible and transparent to everybody. Our idea starts its journey in the funnel, just hanging out with all the other new ideas. If it shows some promise, it moves to analyzing, where it gets explored and defined a bit more. Once it's approved and prioritized, bam, it lands in the ready state. It's basically sitting in the departure lounge, waiting for a team to call its number and pick it up. And now the fun begins. A team pulls our feature into the implementing stage. They break it down into smaller user stories and actually build it. Then it moves to validating on staging, and this is such a critical step. It's where the new feature is tested with the rest of the live system to make absolutely sure nothing breaks. It's the full dress rehearsal. Now listen up, because this next part is super important. The difference between deploying and releasing. Deploying means the code is now out there, in the live production environment, but it might be hidden from users with something like a feature toggle. Releasing is the moment you flip that switch and make it visible. This separation gives you so much control and safety. And once the feature's value has been proven, it's done. Though, of course, what you learn from customers might just spark the very next great idea. So, our feature made it all the way through. That is fantastic for that one idea. But for the pipeline to keep flowing smoothly for hundreds of features month after month, the system itself needs attention and maintenance. Just think about this for a second. What do you think happens if an organization pushes its teams to only work on new, shiny, customer-facing features all the time? What's the long-term consequence of that? The pipeline starts to rust and clog up. That architectural runway we talked about, it shrinks. Development slows to a crawl because every new little thing requires this massive effort to build on top of a crumbling foundation. The whole system just gets brittle and obsolete. The way you prevent this is with a practice called capacity allocation. It's pretty simple. Leaders deliberately set aside a portion of the team's time and energy for different kinds of work. You can see in this example, they're creating a balanced portfolio, investing not just in new features, but also in those absolutely critical enablers and maintenance tasks that keep the whole engine running fast and healthy. Okay, let's zoom all the way out and put this all together. Why go to all this trouble? What's the big picture payoff when you get this system running right? Well, it really just boils down to a few key principles. You use a central backlog so no work gets lost. You're constantly refining it so you're always prepared. You visualize everything with a Kanban system so you can see and manage the flow. And you balance new features with those technical enablers to make sure you can keep up your speed for the long haul. It's a whole system for sustainable delivery. Because ultimately that is the goal, right? It's not about being busy. It's about delivering what actually matters most to your customers, and not just once in a while, but consistently and reliably over and over again. And that leaves us with one final thought, something for you to consider. When you look at how work gets done where you are, does it feel like a smooth flowing pipeline, or does it feel more like a frustrating bottleneck? Something to think about. Thanks so much for tuning in to The Explainer.